Good night. And welcome to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian Horner, and I'll be your navigator through today's proceedings. But before we get into anything else, we want to remind you that you are the reason that you are watching this, me, here on twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. Thanks to the work that you do over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. You help us keep the lights on, you help us do the things we do, and you just keep us genki. And that's really the most important thing. Also fed, that really helps too. But thanks again to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, all of you out there and all of you who are watching either on youtube.com or live over at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. Happy to have all of you here. Now, while I do want to thank the Patreon for everything they do, I also want to thank specifically Andrew Wells in the chat, who was the reason that we're doing this today. They apparently received an extra model in the mail, and I mean, you definitely noticed, and they said, hey Ian, I know you like building models, but have you ever built a Zoid? And I said, no, what's a Zoid? And went to the internet and looked it up myself because I don't need to make other people do my work for me, and thought, my, those are quite impressive beasts. Yes, I will build one of these. So that's what we're going to do here today.
It's weird to me that like I feel like I've heard the word Zoid a lot in the context of like TV shows and like Japanese, big robots fighting each other and stuff. But maybe I'm thinking of Zords or other Z words that sound similar.
That's what I kind of thought too. Though it turns, according to Nigoki, apparently the Zoids are having their 40th anniversary this year. And Pat, we were talking a bit about Zoids during the pre-show, and I was showing my entire ass as to how much actual knowledge I have with regards to them. And the answer is none. Apparently, they do have 2 different animation series.
Ooh.
Yeah, we in America got the second one first, apparently. Thank you, Pat, for giving us those information. Apparently some Zoid kits walk around via batteries. They're neat. Yeah, I saw them in the shops when I was in Japan, but I didn't know what they were because I'd never experienced the television show or been a huge dinosaur person. So now it's time for me to figure out how much of a dinosaur person I actually am. So this is the Sturm Tyrann, EZ049 in katakana. Sturm Tyrann. Okay, so that's pretty good good use of the katakana there. And it's a big model. I don't know what the scale is because the scale doesn't appear to be... Oh, no, wait, 1/72. So I guess we do know what the size of these things would be in real-ish life. There's a little robot here in the corner of the box that I'm trying to figure out what it is, and I cannot. So we'll leave that as an exercise to the viewer at home. But this is the damage here. And we've got... Oh! Thank you once again, Andrew, for the letter. We'll keep that off air just so you, just in case you don't want your information sent out. That's a hefty manual. So, long Tinker Tailor Solder Fry fans may note that this isn't the first model that we built here on stream. It's not even going to be the last model that we built on stream, but this is...
I mean, we'll see how this one goes.
That's a very good point. But this is the first model that we're doing from Kotobukiya as and Tomy as the producers. And I've spent a lot of time in the Kotobukiya shops in Japan, but never have I taken advantage of their services. And I'm already seeing that this is just in terms of the amount of information here in this manual, we're definitely looking at master grade level.
Does that have circuit diagrams? No, it looks like it has circuit diagrams.
You'd think so. No, thankfully these are just the runners. Interesting they give you the information as to what they're actually made of here in the manual rather than having to look at the plastic itself. That can sometimes matter depending on whether or not you are careful about your god hands or not. Importantly, they also give you this this order sheet for, I'm guessing, just parts. So if you need a part from any of these rails or runners, A through K. Good lord, I am worried about what we're getting ourselves into. Huh. Okay.
Actually, yeah, I mean, I haven't done a ton of model making, but I feel like an actual like sprue map. I don't know if that's a common thing, but it seems super handy.
It would be if I need to find out which way to go to.
Like I'm remembering, building giant big like Lego sets, and it's just like, oh, there'll be a 1x6 block somewhere. In one of these 50 bags.
Yeah. I do like that we have the symbols and English finally, well, not finally, but we get English explanation for the symbols themselves. So that's nice. And looking at this, we were also talking a bit before the show about differences in different companies' modeling techniques and their, well, not modeling techniques, but their production techniques of the actual models themselves. And we were talking about the Bandai's kind of the gold standard in terms of plastic injection. Hasegawa also very good. Apparently, Munokard is saying Kotobukiya kits aren't quite as foolproof as Bandai's, but I haven't had the pleasure of building one myself to speak with any first-hand experience. Yeah, my understanding is that they're up there in the Bandai area, but they're not that gold standard again. But one of the techniques they are including is the undergating, and I can see that here. Cut the gate off from under the part, which is something that, at least in my experience, has been a rather recent-ish invention. The idea being that your gating is where the sprue, the runner portion of the sprue, contacts the actual part. And so you just want to cut the gate off. It's usually a very thin piece. Usually, and traditionally, it's been attached to the edge of the model. So it means that when you're cutting things off, you have to very carefully and very meticulously sand it down and make sure everything looks nice. With undergated parts, the gate is actually comes in underneath the lip of the part, so that edge that shows is pristine. You don't have to do any cuts or cleanup to it.
Oh,
you're just cleaning up underneath or around it. So, yeah, very little undergating. Well, that's all right, because they do take a lot of time to clean up in my experience. Okay, and now we're actually into the assembly.
It's interesting to see, like I know, just from like even Games Workshop, Warhammer type models, the way, you would think that model making is sort of, it wouldn't have changed that much.
Yeah, you'd think it's so. Yeah,
and yet the technology, not only obviously higher resolution models, but the sophistication in, I particularly know, like, for Games Workshop stuff, the way that, like, the models are cut rather than, straight down the middle or whatever. They have a very sophisticated, I think it's sort of a computer modeled system where they can, figure out exactly this, like, bizarre cut line on the model, which makes the most makes it the most efficient in terms of how it's going to fit on the sprue and all this kind of stuff. And I'm assuming that there's a similar process that has gone through with these kind of models.
Oh, there's got to be
things have gotten way more sophisticated.
There's got to be either guys with 40 years of experience in the industry just laying out parts into a sprue, who had their job just completely replaced by an algorithm. But from my understanding, there's still a lot of handwork that goes into producing plastic models, because you've got to make sure that those, not only do you have to make sure that those injection molds are properly produced, but B, that they are clean and meticulously clean. And then properly polished as well. So you have to get in there with hand tools and hand cloths and just...
The resolution that these are producing is quite amazing.
Oh, yeah. And they just keep getting better as materials science marches on. Oh yeah, one last thing I wanted to mention about while I was flipping through the instructions here is that what impresses me is that it includes water slide decals in addition to, well, not even in addition to, but rather than just stickers. Which I mean, I know a lot of people do get intimidated by water slide decals, but as a person who enjoys the look of a decal as opposed to a sticker, and the way that it just kind of conforms to the surface and there's not that incredibly obvious lip on the edge of the paper, and also don't peel off quite the same way. Yeah.
It strikes me as a slightly sort of old school model making thing, the water slide decals.
They're definitely an older technology, but stickers just haven't quite managed to get up to the level yet. Adhesive, not even once. But yeah, usually you don't see a gunpla, like an actual Gundam gunpla, come with water slides unless you're getting one of the fancy version KAs, or I'm not even sure of the perfect grades.
Do you actually know what the technology behind water slide, like if it's not an adhesive, what it actually is it?
I think there is some adhesive there. There has to be some adhesive in it.
It's basically like a temporary tattoo. Like it's the same technology, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very a very thin film, and I think you're relying on a little bit of adhesive and a little bit and mostly surface tension to just dry onto it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll have to check up on that technology. For my birthday, Corey gave me a sheet of laser printable decal paper, which is going to be useful for future projects, and most importantly, recreating the Mini.
Oh, you're building a scale model of your Mini?
I was able to track down the 1997 model version, which is just 1 year off of what I've got.
Ooh.
But it's the same model, and it was Hasegawa makes it, and it's incredibly detailed, like right down.
And then you're gonna have to you want to modify it to match your exact Mini.
Exactly. I actually had some custom paint made a couple of years ago. Because I found a little bit of rust, so we got that taken care of rather quickly. But managed to get have enough paint left over that we're going to do it in proper automotive paint too.
Wow!
Exactly the same color because it's on the car right now. All right. This is going to be an undertaking. We need our B first. Oh God. Okay, we need B, H, and PC. So that's I'm betting that PC stands for polycap.
This is the keep talking and nobody brick explodes super difficult version.
Yeah, I feel like that a keep talking and no one brick explodes with a doing some sort of model making could be a lot of fun.
All right, you need the piece that is like a square paneling thing.
Oh God, yeah! If you weren't allowed to use the actual runner numbers, that would. I was just thinking, as it stands, model making not that difficult. You just use the proper numbers, and things generally go together one way. But if you have to describe the parts, ooh, I like that. We'll put Q away for later. All right, so that is definitely some soft plastic. PCQ. Well, you know what? PCQ is not on PC1.
All right.
So, model making is one of those hobbies that just has endless amounts of extra doodads and accessories that you can pile on. And I recently was looking at some new arrivals at the local hobby shop, and one of them was a holder for your runners. And they're you see them all over the 3D printing file sites as well. But the idea is that they're labeled with the letter as well that you would have, and it allows you to kind of like file them vertically,
right,
going along. And I thought, Who needs that? I can keep No, maybe I can't now. But
I feel like when you are deep in the process of making a model like this, you have a lot of time to think about ways to make it. It's like, oh, I wish I had this thing right now.
yeah.
And to sort of stew on that idea so that as soon as you're done, you're like, all right, I'm going to invent a thing to make this job easier.
Well, that was what I was going to say about the other side of plastic modeling. Is I found that I have run into fewer hobbies that make use of other technologies for other hobbies than modeling does. Based, the idea of makeup brushes and compacts for weathering and that sort of thing, using floor polish as a clear coat for clear coating, and I saw a genius man on Reddit the other day who took a dish rack used for drying dishes, and used that as their sprue organizer. And
I mean, that makes perfect sense.
exactly, yeah.
It's a very kind of DIY. Well, obviously it's a DIY thing, but and I do like, you're talking about using the real paint that's on your Mini. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that kind of fun stuff too, especially if you're talking about like historical model making, tanks or trucks or planes or whatever, right? They'll be like, we can actually, this is a real plane. We know the actual mix and brand of paint that went on this thing. We can get a little sample of it.
Or alternatively, you get those real grognards who go out to the historical air museums with their cameras and their paint chips and their and their white balance cards, just trying to get that accurate green on the Mosquito.
Hopefully it's the museum that they're going to.
Yes. All right, B is the next one we need. Oh my goodness, okay. Oh, wow, yeah. So here's a little fun one for you all at home. When you run out of English characters, you start using katakana for your runners. From X to A.
In an English model kit, I guess they would just do like AA or something.
They're doing that here too. Here's W3. This kit is out of control.
I get the feeling that like one of the subtle quality things that you might get, from a Bandai kit or whatever is, the difference in manufacturing quality might not be that different, but I can imagine that just like the difference in how it's actually like packaged and organized could have a big difference in the sort of final outcome.
You would think
that like if all Bandai sprues have a certain way of being labeled, then it makes it a lot easier to find stuff.
So, Bandai sprues are laid out pretty much exactly as these ones are here. And they do... I don't think they use the katakana once they get past the Z, but I haven't run into a model about that yet. What I did just realize, though, as I'm putting this together, is that I have no idea what this thing looks like in my head in terms of which part I'm actually, like, I don't know, well, okay, now I know, because it says head right there, but I don't know what I'm building when it comes to building this head. And that actually kind of matters when trying to figure out which piece I'm looking for next. Especially with color. I mean, back in the Nightingale, I knew what part to reach for, because I could look at the part in the manual, and I could say, okay, yeah, I know what that part looks like, and I know that part is going to be red, so let's go to one of the red runners. Now
Right.
it's just...
There's no indication of this manual what color the part will be.
Exactly. So it's, I can't even organize my bags yet.
I remember putting together these cupboards for Moonbase Mark III that were like from Walmart or Canadian Tire or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That were sort of, they're sort of knockoff IKEA thing, right? And so they've got knockoff IKEA instructions.
Yes.
And there were two sizes of screws that were very similar looking. And in the book, which is black and white, they were denoted as being white, like there was white screws and there was gray screws.
Oh, no.
And in the bag, there were black screws and green screws. And so you're like, okay, which of these colors is intended to be green and which one is intended to be black?
Where can I find something in this manual that tells me which one is going to be which? Oh.
And so it's like, yeah. Is the green ones are lighter than black, so they're the white?
I've been to school, so I can figure this out, but I need something to start from.
And whichever way you go, it's the old USB plug problem. Whichever way you go, the opposite will be the correct one.
Yes. Until you've done it 3 times, unlocking the next level of dimensionality. H. Okay, that was W3 and C. X. Oh, wait.
Maybe this is naive, but I would have assumed that all the parts that attach together would be on the sprue together.
Generally, that's, especially if they're a similar color. That's ooh and... Those are 2 sheets of ooh. That's F. Aha! H. Just enough time for the first part. Half an hour in, we will be able
Attach 2 things together.
Yep. We'll be able to assemble and thing. So we got B23, which is looking like that. I did get B23, right? Yes, I did. Good. Whew. B23. And then the B4 goes in that hole like that, I'm assuming. And then we need H15. Good. There is only one H15. There. Whew. Okay, good. Got it. Window card asking you to use the file folder stand method for sorting runners. I have never sorted a runner in my life. I am 100% wing it, but that might be something I change. This kit might change me.
Now, is this a bigger kit than? I mean, the thing you were building, the Nightingale, was huge. Mm-hmm. But was it actually more pieces, or is this actually more pieces than that one was?
No. If and perhaps someone in the chat can correct me on this if I'm speaking out of school here, but I believe that the Nightingale was what's called, despite its size, was an HG kit, or high grade, which is Bandai's middle grade kits. They're considered kind of the standard. They can get big, but they don't have to have. They don't go all in on detail. They don't go all in on gimmicks, and they don't go all in on size. It's kind of a nice 1 to 144 scale, says Zafty. It's a nice compromise. This set is a 1 to 72 scale set, which means it's already going to be a lot bigger. There's going to be more detail to it, and I can tell there's a lot more parts. And given they call it a high-end master model, that leads me to believe that that's As Ghost Restorer says, yeah, Kotobuki's HMM are the most detailed Zoids kits. So, oh boy.
I didn't notice. Is the person who said this to you in chat right now?
I believe they are. I haven't seen Andrew in chat, but I haven't been paying full attention to chat either. But they said they were going to stick around. They were going to pop it around for the first bit at least to see me get started. Okay, H16. Okay, this is an ABS sheet. Interesting.
Oh, do the different colors of sprue denote actually different plastics?
Not always. These are the same color sprue, but the B is, if we check here, Suchiroru. Suchirol.
Oh, there's Andrew and roommate say hi.
Say hi. Hey, great. Thank you. Styrene. Oh, pfft. Sutyron. Styro. Yeah, it's styrene. Styrene, ABS.
So I guess that's depending on how much detail they need in the particular part, whether it's
and how it's going to wear too.
Right.
Like an ABS plastic is something you're definitely going to want in a joint, or a polycap is usually where you're going to want something that's got a lot of movement. So you can see here, we're going to stick a ball in that end a little bit later, because that's the polystyrene. It's the very, very soft plastic, not quite rubber. And then underneath that is the ABS, which I guess is providing the real meat of that join. And then the styrene's where you get the rest of it, because it's a soft plastic, so it's easier to work with if you want to make customizations or sanding or whatnot.
So this will be an articulated model. Right?
Oh, will it ever? As I think Pat was saying in the chat earlier, some of them can be motorized in the way that, in the way that some models can have LED kits. These ones too can have LED kits, but some of them will have motors that can be make them into little walking toys.
Cool. Yeah, I guess it's like the blurring the distinction between like a model and like an action figure.
Exactly, and that's kind of what Japanese models do. G-Dwarble, thank you. ABS is what Lego's made of. It's very tough, but you can't use most paints on it because alcohol doesn't play nicely with it. Which is why, you need to worry about ABS parts and styrene parts with the lacquers.
Right, of course. And paint sticks really well to styrene type plastic.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's what and then that's also styrene also like crazy glue melts it a little, which is how you sort of or modeling like that's how modeling glue makes its really solid joins.
Plastic cement, yeah. Or no, the modeling glue. I'm looking for N now. You know what? I should actually just alphabetize these. Okay, katakana goes over there now. J, F on top of J. U goes with the katakana.
Do you know the lexicographical sorting of the katakana?
God, halfway, yes. It's A, I, U, E, O, Sa, Si, Tsu, Te, To. No, I think I've got it already wrong there. But the vowel order goes A, I, U, E, O. And then it's adding consonants on top of that. Okay, and of course I'm trying to sort here nicely, and then I do something like put W3 and C in the same bag. So this is going to go well.
It's one of those like fundamental things that like as soon as you find a categorization system, you will immediately find something that defies that system.
I'm starting to cotton on to why people like these runner sorters. L. Come on, N. Nope, D. O and O and O and O.
Now, could it be possible that the people who put this kit together do not know the alphabet?
You know what, Paul? As someone who taught English and Japanese for many years, that's more likely than you think. No, that's a lie. You kind of have to know Romaji in order to get around in Japan these days. N. See, and this is why color would have really mattered.
But I mean, there's a certain point where it's like you're not using any of the additional information that letters give. You know, like for instance, the sorting and stuff. Like they might as well just be like, square, circle, triangle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like you could literally just number these parts with their own serial number.
Right. Yeah. Serial number. But then again, and then that would obviously specify the order as well. But it's like with the stupid Warhammer.
Yeah.
It's like no, these are not. There's no additional information to be gleaned from the shape.
Stop
the
trying
shape
to
is
make
just
sense
the
of
shape.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I going? I mean, who is going to be the first model maker to have the courage to do away with runner letters and just label every piece with its own UUID? Full 26 characters of data for each piece.
And not only unique within that kit, but unique between all kits.
Yes. So the same kit produced twice will have different UUIDs.
Yes. Making the actual injection bolt completely useless.
Now you won't need to worry about the sheet to order replacement parts and put them in. Now, if you want a replacement part, just send us an MD5 hash of the part you need, and then we'll send it on its way. Okay, so
the number could just be the encoded vertices of the part.
Oh no! So we need to swing the jaw back, and then swing the gun portion down a bit as well, I guess. Because yes, this dinosaur will have a gun in its mouth. Ooh, we're getting to our first undergated piece here, which is J8.
Now I notice you don't actually have any. Do you have any glue? Is this a glue model, or is this actually going to be snapping together?
This is snap to fit.
Oh wow!
One of the hallmarks of most Japanese models. They really like to get the kids to be able to put them together without any glue. I mean, that's it. I'm not necessarily planning, I'm not making any promises, but I'm not necessarily planning on painting this large friend. But normally what I would do is put it together like this, then take it apart and do the painting.
Right. Or at least take some of it apart.
Yeah.
So that you can get into all the nooks and crannies.
The last one I did was a complete disassemble, and I think we might avoid doing that this round. Okay, J8, which is this friend here. Aha, and here we go. You can see, if we can get onto that camera there, that's where the undergating is on this part here, right in there. You can kind of see that the gate sticks up a bit. That's the edge of the part, and then it runs into the gate. So let's just snip that off nice and flat there. And again there. And then that should make it extremely flush. There we go. Just a little bit of a little bit of schmutz to clean up on one of the... Yeah, there you go. You can see the God hand really cuts quite close. So we'll just... There we go.
The big thing with the God hand is that it's flat on the cutting side, right? So
Yes.
it cuts as close as physically possible.
Yep. Okay, so that goes in the top here. Into the back hole? The back hole, yes. Which means there's probably going to be something that comes up the front hole. I get the feeling this is a very panel-full robot. B5. It's H, PC, PC, PC. Aha, here we are. B5, that's the other side of that ring thing. Now, if it feels like I'm taking my time on this, it's because I am. I have no desire to rush through the creation of models. Ooh, B7. I find the whole process to be rather meditative and...
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of intention, I feel like. It's, you know, there's that sort of the coloring book or the building models or there's, I don't know, I feel like there's a various things that sort of fall into that category of interesting, repetitive kind of jobs.
Agreed. There is a certain subset of the community that really likes to exclaim how quickly they were able to build things. And that to me just kind of, it feels like it takes away from the enjoyment of it. Like it's nice that I get a nice robot toy at the end, but it's the building that I'm here for.
I'm just imagining, you know, a Buddhist monk bragging at how fast he can build a mandala.
Yep. Look at how beautiful this was. Now we need the monk who is willing to take the time to not just build the mandala slowly and surely, but is willing to take the time to disassemble it one grain of sand at a time.
For transport.
Yes. Again, we got to serialize each of these things so that when we put it back together in our home country, it's exactly as it was. Oh, I think this is the cockpit that I'm just about to finish building here. That looks like a chair. B19.
To be honest, yeah, I wasn't sure whether this was a kind of one of these piloted robot, like whether it was a robot or a mech.
You know what? I had the same question, Paul.
Is that the distinct? Is that what makes a mech? Whether you have a pilot or not?
That's a tough one. I think technically a robot is autonomous, is the idea of it.
Right.
And a mech is, yeah, I guess any pilotable suit or any pilotable large non-autonomous robot. I love the different words that they've come up with in the anime canon for those different types of things. You've got the labors in the Pat Labor canon, which makes sense as a name for a device that works for you. Mobile suits in Gundam, which the idea behind that being that it was a suit that you wore rather than something that you just piloted.
Right.
Oh, hey. Oh, no, we're not quite there, but we're about to get to the point where we will put the pilot in. This is where I finally found out that ZOIDS are piloted, because you get a little man.
Oh.
We'll have to paint him. He's wee.
Where is he?
Right there, under my finger.
Oh. He is wee.
Yeah. I don't know, is this 1/72nd of a man?
Well, there's no way to tell unless we get 71 more of them.
Yep. Gonna have to hop up on each other's shoulders. Hop, 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 hop. Welcome to Gulliver's Travels here on the Mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. And tonight I will be tied down by tiny men. Alright, and B3, that's going to be the snoot with which one can boop. This is intricate. Go. You need to get everything in there on one side before you can close up the head from the other side, which is what we're just about to do. But now we need to find the R. The R. There's Q. I think it's going to be a color, just because I have a feeling. F and H. More H's.
Right. Also, lettering your sprues doesn't help if some of them have the same letter.
I mean, hopefully the same lettered sprues have the same parts on them. But boy, I don't hold out much hope. D. You two. Those are O's. Z and W. And of course, everyone's welcome to play the game of show Ian where his parts are if you remember. I know. Oh, here we are. The R's are these transparent ones here. Let's get that out. I'm not sure what the deal with this little marble is, but
Yeah, that's interesting.
sure we'll find out soon. Okay, right, we need a little man. Man goes inside. Get you a little chair. Oops. Then we'll put down your little restraint system. Or maybe we won't. Whoop. There we go. Restraint system now activated. You are tall enough to ride the roller coaster.
So when he goes like, huh, sort of expecting this to be a bigger,
Oh my. Halfway through this kit is a good time to learn that it's based off an older kit, and one sprue has the same letter and updated parts. Good to know, Sanglipmon. Thank you. Okay, we need R1 and B20. So let's clip off R1.
So it looks like we've got a couple people in chat who have built this exact kit.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that assistance nearby should we need it. Here we go. Transparent parts are always difficult. So R1 goes into B20. B20 was here. There it is. Getting things off the runners is always a bit of a nail biter. Okay, so this attaches to the underside of this. Thus, so we just want to get those nice red eyepieces on the edges there.
Oh.
That's what that's for. Still using a lot of nub marks.
Judging by the size of the box and the size of different things, this guy's got quite a pea head.
Yeah. Well, you know, the dinosaurs were not the largest brained animals on the
That's true.
in our history. Although they did, although much like the early computers of the 1990s, they did experiment for a while with dual processing, at least in some of the larger animals. Was that ever retracted that the Diplodocus had a second brain to control its back end?
I don't know. I mean, there's animals that now that have sort of multiple sub brain, you know, depending on what you define as a brain. But there's not, like, don't octopi have sort of separate neural control of their limbs?
That sounds like that makes sense. I just know that, you know, paleontology was one of those fields that played fast and loose for quite a while.
Yeah.
And the public perception of what dinosaurs should be versus what they were, or keeping up to date with what they were, is not always. They're not always on the same page.
I feel like Brontosaurus not being real was like my it's like the equivalent. It's like my generation's version of the Pluto not being a planet.
Right.
It was just one of those things that you knew to be true, and then suddenly all the adults were like, "No, it's not actually." And you're like, "Wait, what? That was a thing. That was a fact."
Yeah.
What do you mean it was? What do you mean it's wrong?
You can't just go back and change the fossil record like that. Apparently, no, we can. We just need to learn better about the fossil record. Okay.
And it's like, oh yeah, it turns out we like combined two dinosaurs together.
Tiny little head, not quite done, but we're getting there. I don't know if we'll be able to make a full head before the end of the break, but we're going to try. We need N6, which are the jaws.
Of course, that's when you actually go and, you know, when you see, I mean, it's the work that paleontologists do is amazing. Because you'll see, you know, it'll be like, this is what Brachiosaurus looked like. And then they have like a toe. And they extrapolate from there.
Yeah.
And they're actually like, and then they, you know, whatever, 10 years later, they find more of the skeleton, and they're actually were right from the toe. And it's like, holy crap, that's amazing.
How'd you do that?
In the same, I mean, it's almost like similar to like astronomers, you know, they'll be like, oh, you know, over time we can see that this particular star has a slight wobble to it. And we can then calculate that it actually has a planet in the right, you know, in the area that it could theoretically support life, all based on the fact that, you know, we can't see that planet. Oh, of course not. But we can see the slight wobble and the change in the spectrum from this thing, you know, however many hundreds of trillions of miles away.
I think I was reading this week that we've just discovered evidence of dust storms on exoplanets using that same sort of technology.
Yeah, where it's like, or there could be a speck of dust on the lens. But probably.
Look, the model fits both sides. I'm going to choose the interpretation that gets me the Nobel Prize.
But it is, you know, it's incredible, like what they can do, and then, you know, and then as we get, as our technology and our horizons expand, we can then confirm these things, and they are often correct. Some, you know, sometimes they aren't, and things have to be reevaluated. But that's all part of it.
That's science. That's part of the process. All right. Okay. Good. Whew. I trimmed this this tab just a bit too close here, as you can see, but thankfully that's going inside of another part, so that won't be an issue.
Yeah, figure out which figuring out which tabs are the like
Structural.
well, which ones are chaff and which ones are the actual bit that you're supposed to keep.
Well, especially when you're using a god hand where all of the plastic feels exactly the same as you're slicing through it. Aha! W's! I got you.
God hand model maker problems. My snips are too good.
I mean, earlier this week I did find out that there's a Reddit specifically for people who have broken their god hands.
But they just commiserate with each other?
Yeah, exactly. You post a picture of your snapped blade and then you get the badge. W3 and W2 1. Okay. So we're only getting a little bit here. I'm starting to think that what we're doing here is we are building what's essentially a small mechanical dinosaur that we are then going to build larger mechanical dinosaur armor for.
Ooh.
As the build goes on. Okay, that seems good.
A small mechanical dinosaur the size of a large mechanical dinosaur.
Scaled appropriately. There we go. Let's put these on the sides here. How do these work? Serrations go up or serrations go down? That slides in there, it looks like. Ah, yes, perfect. Perfection. Mostly.
There's a request in chat. What is that subreddit? Do you remember?
I think Julian Mon's got it. Our broken god hand.
Oh. That's slightly less exciting than I thought.
Yeah.
It would be.
It's, you know, it is what it says on the label. Okay, and just now get that chonked up to the bottom of that jawline. Get the gun out of the way so I can snap his face in. Nice and tight. Ooh. Oh yeah, yep. There we go. That tells you everything you need to know about, well, not everything you need to know, but that tells me a lot about the fit and finish of this as compared to a Bandai model. First of all, I don't think a Bandai model would choose to meet two parts like this with a line straight down the middle. That's okay. That's okay. It's still going to look very good. But yeah, if I were to be building this for painting, we'd have to definitely clean up that area there, and I think this would definitely be a candidate for seam removal, which, given how hard I have to grip this just to remove the seam optically, is going to be a bit of an issue. Yeah, you might see a line like that on an HG leg, says Pat, but I mean, having it right on the face here like that is kind of... I would, if I were doing a final pass on the design work of this, I'd give it a little bit of a side eye. That said, I think this is a good time for us to take a short break because it's the top of the hour, or at least it's the top of my hour, and that means that's what we do. So get up, swap your fluids, stretch your legs, and we'll be back with more Zoid building in just a few minutes. Don't go all the way away. Welcome to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry. We're back building more of, plastic models. Specifically this time, a Sturm Tyrann Zoid from Kotobukiya, and given to us generously by A. Wells in the chat. So thank you once again. I'm looking for my X, my X runner, because we're getting to that point. We've got the head constructed so far.
Is the little guy still in there?
Oh, yes he is. If you just open up his cockpit. Hello. And he has a little restraint that you can remove, or you can make sure he's just nice and cozy tucked in there. Good night.
Nice.
Wow.
Oh, I like that it's got like a laser or flamethrower
Yeah.
or something in its mouth.
Kind of like a little good width on the bite there too. Yeah, it's a cool little head. But we're going to make it cooler by adding something else to the side of it. Or rather, we will as soon as I can find my X runner. Yeah, let's have a look at some of the pieces. They look angular, so L is not an X, and D is not X. I is also not X. B and H are not X. Wait a minute. I saw H earlier.
Unless H actually is X. Wait, we've got two H's?
Oh, I think this might be A. Oh, thank God. And by A, I mean A, not A. Which is different from... Kids, when you're building your gun or your plastic models, make sure to not confuse A and A. I know it's difficult, but we're just going to put both of our A's over here.
What if that's an I?
I thought so too. And then very quickly realized that the top of bar of that is ever so slightly shorter than the bottom bar, which means A.
To be honest, I'm starting to see the wisdom in just numbering them. It turns out letters are maybe not the best system.
Now, if you're just pronouncing the word, this is also E, so we'll put that in the E pile.
We're gonna organize these phonetically.
Yep, that's the only sensible system at this point, Paul. Z and Z, yep. And those are two more Z pieces there. X. How come I didn't see you? Okay, we need E though as well. A and X. Good. Okay, we don't need A or H. So, X3, not three of that, but just simply one of those from X. I'll take a bit more than nibs off this time with the part, just to clean it up offhand, because I've been having trouble getting a really good cut so far today on these pieces. And there we go. That's a little bit closer. Ugh. I am very bad at model making, it turns out.
Yeah, this is not a good time to learn that. Like, you've got a lot of model to make here.
Yeah, I've also done a few. What happened? What happened is I'm building, not necessarily building to paint.
It's like heading out on a ship, and just as the land leaves sight, you go,
Hey.
I don't know how to sail.
I should have bought a boat. I should have learned how to sail. God, finding out that cat is from an Enya video is absolutely the specifically the I should have bought a boat cat.
The cat reading the newspaper?
That's from an Enya video.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't tell you much more about the song because Enya video, but yeah, cat's just looking at a newspaper, looks up, and then it's Enya singing.
Rock Pusher says it was a Bjork video.
I'm sorry, Bjork. Yes, you can I hope you can understand my confusion between the two. But
to be honest, though, that tracks better. Like, Bjork is known for having some of the weirdest and also greatest music videos.
Yeah, usually when I'm talking about, and yeah, I'm actually talking about Bjork. The English speaking but European aesthetic gets me every time. We need 5 and X4. Okay. Yep. And this one is the X. Right, we're going to do the same thing. Go along and clean up. I'm not a fan of the use cheap nippers to take things out of the spurs first, because I find what happens there is, at least in my experience, you end up using cheaper nippers. When you end up cutting farther out on the sprue, you end up really flexing things, and I find it just ends up more messy than using the God hand to do a double cut or just go straight in with the God hand.
Because the big thing with cheaper nippers is that they will more kind of squeeze the plastic and kind of deform it rather than just slicing straight through it.
Correct. And you can get guillotine style cutters that aren't God hand branded. It's not like they have a patent on the process or the design. But having that flat cut side, I find, really helps to keep things clean. But that could also be my technique. So, okay, these look like nice little jaw pieces. And in fact, they are. But we need W2, 3. So these, okay. Haha, W2, 3. Oh my gosh, we're about to finish an entire runner. Could not be happier.
It's like a tax form.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a reminder.
It's true. I think if you're in the States, it's already too late.
Yeah.
But if you're in Canada, you've got a few days left.
You're good until Sunday if you have to pay taxes. If you don't have to pay anything, you're fine anyway. Don't worry about it.
Although, the problem is you don't really know unless you've actually done the thing.
That's the thing. I mean, you can probably tell. Did you earn money this year? Maybe. Where does this go? Wait, that goes over top of the nose? This is an extremely complicated little model here.
This feels kind of like, like you were talking about that. Yeah, it's like a dinosaur. It's like a guy piloting a dinosaur piloting a bigger dinosaur. The dinosaur itself is like wearing a suit of power armor.
Yeah. Not that I'm complaining. I think that's pretty damn cool. But okay. So this actually needs to connect into here, which then connects to the head via here. There. Okay. Here we go.
Reminds me a little bit of like one of those guns where you like attach like the silencer and attach extra pieces. It starts out as like a pistol and then you just like keep adding pieces to it until it turns into a sniper rifle or something.
Oh, okay. I'm a sucker for any double action cockpits.
Ooh.
That's nice. Boop,
That-
boop.
I hope he's got, I don't know, some kind of way to go to the bathroom. Because he ain't getting out of that cockpit in a hurry.
Thankfully, Gundam Reconquista NG has shown us that Gundam cockpits have always been toilets and always will be.
Was that in the right stuff? The movie, the right stuff about about them planning the doing the initial rocket rocket launches. They had the problem where the astronauts like, guys, I gotta go. He's all strapped in. He's like, what do I do? And the override mission control is like, what does he do? It's like, well, the flight time is only like 15 minutes. We didn't think it was going to be an issue. It's like, yeah, but he's on the he's like on the place for like 3 hours waiting for us to go.
And like one of those things that just never comes up until you're actually in the situation.
And then there's like a brief discussion. They're like, okay, this is mission control. We've established that it won't damage anything. Just let it go. And then it just shows the like status display of it all just going, his lower body becoming very warm.
That's cute. The heady days of space travel. Okie dokie. We've got some fun stuff coming up here on the Polycap. Polycap number R. And we need to pay attention to the keys on this one.
What is a polycap? I haven't heard that term before.
So it's a polystyrene capsule, I guess would be the portmanteau. The idea is that you'll see another one up back here. These are the parts where you have some slightly more flexible plastic, which will the purpose of which is to mate with a ball joint, and so because it's slightly flexible, but still fairly rigid, it means that it can. It's the ideal material for making a movable joint.
It'll sort of lock in.
Yeah, exactly. That's the stickiness of that soft plastic keeps it in place, but you can also then twist it and move it without worrying too much about breaking the actual plastic because all the stresses are happening on here and on the other side.
So the polycap will fit into to sort of give that to be kind of the cuff around the ball joint.
Exactly. And in fact, we're going to see an example of that mating in just a couple steps here. But they are the sort of thing that does eventually wear out. And so that's why you'll find both Kotobukiya and Bandai will sell in hobby shops little like plastic sheets of runners of polycaps. And they try to keep the polycaps in standard forms.
Right,
so that if they do mess up, you can just jam another one in there and you can start swapping. Especially important with the Gunpla because you're often swapping out the hands because hands, they're not flexible in a Gundam. So you have one hand that's set to hold a rifle, another that's making a punching motion, another one that's set to hold a beam saber. And you've got to swap out the whole hand.
I mean, how much of parts are like in Gundam or whatever are interchangeable? Like, will the hands between Gundams be interchangeable?
Within the same size class, yes. Yeah.
Okay, and they're sort of explicitly done that way.
Yeah, and that's because it keeps the size the same within the scaling. Hands, especially, are actually something that get interchangeably used between different models themselves.
Right.
Like the hand from a Zaku is probably going to be the same as the hand from a Nightingale. The hand from a Gundam is going to be very.
So if if your guy didn't come with a beam sword hand, you could just order. That's just like a part you could order.
Yep.
It's just like a 125 size Gundam hand.
In fact, there are a number of people on Etsy or on various places on the internet who have designed different hands than the ones
nice.
that Bandai makes, because Bandai doesn't actually make the nicest hands. They're hard to paint. They're not quite as detailed, and they're kind of boring. And some of them are difficult to pose, especially if you want. There's a couple of sniper rifle mods or kits that require a hand that has a wrist that comes out and extends up before coming into a ball joint.
Right, because I guess if you has to have both arms coordinated, then
Exactly.
yeah.
It's some of the only way you can get the hand to be in a position so that you can hold a rifle with both hands. But,
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Not only obviously from a manufacturing and a usage standpoint, but even within the the narrative of the universe. Of course, you'd want to have as many interchangeable parts between your big mechs as possible, so that you can swap out. You can just mass produce left hands and right hands and just stick them on everything.
the real problem was that during the early 90s, there was a bit of a plastic shortage, and and the economy in Japan was tanking in general. And so what happened is that suits in universe, in canon, became smaller. And the explanation behind that was that smaller suits were more efficient and they could move faster, et cetera, et cetera.
So they modified the anime to line up with what they were having to do from a supply point of view.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because up to that point, suits had you're having power creep. The suits from Char's counterattack were in universe notably several meters taller than suits from other series, and then afterwards the suits got a lot smaller than the original ones.
Oh yeah, Monocard in the chat is saying that they'll actually be sometimes extra pieces on sprues
Yeah.
in kits because they're the piece from a different model, and it didn't make sense to make a whole new mold.
New sprue system.
And they needed 3 pieces off that sprue, and so the extra 5 pieces aren't being used. That's really interesting.
Yeah, the economies of it is fascinating. B-22. So I always feel like I'm doing a terrible impression of of playing bingo whenever I'm building these things. So I'll finish a sentence and then I'll end with something like B-22.
Or you sunk my battleship. And then of course you've got extra little pieces for to randomly kit bash with things.
Exactly. I had a bunch of metal parts for the Nightingale, so that means I have a number of thrusters, and by number I mean I think it's in the tens that didn't get used from that kit.
Was that like an additional upgrade kit?
Yeah, it was It was a secondary, actually 2 sets of purchases. One for the photo etch parts, and then there was a second one for the metal conversion parts, which was thrusters, hoses, and a few other things. And then a decal kit on top of that. I wanted to go a little bit all out on the Nightingale, and I definitely did, and have learned.
Is that one of your favorite model? Like one of your favorite robots?
To be honest, I'd honestly only heard about it a few months prior, but it very quickly, instantly became one of my favorites. It's unfortunate that I may never get to see it animated.
Oh no?
So, the Nightingale is technically from the story, Char's Counterattack, but it's from the novelization version that goes by the name Beltorchika's Children. And the novelization version had a different mech for both Amuro and for Char. Nightingale was his, and it was a much bigger one than the Sazabi was in the movie. Probably because it would have been difficult to animate, just because it is such a large vehicle.
So so this model is like the only actual depiction of it. Like it's never been depicted in the end. Like it's only been described.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a sketch or two, and there's been, because when you're dealing with novels especially otaku novels in Japan, they generally tend to have a few illustrations sprinkled throughout it. And when you're dealing with mech, well, people like to see the mechs. But yeah, I love the look of the thing. I love big chunky mechs. But I also love the idea of, here's a mech that's a different version of a mech from a story that's a different version of the story. Like, there are significant differences in the plot from the novelization to the movie.
A mech that is a particularly large mech, being called Nightingale is kind of fun too. It has a certain, that sounds like a very kind of small, delicate kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. One would think, but no. Apparently, it was it was chosen. The name is chosen based on the sound that the psycho frame made when it was flitting about in space. You would hear a chittering in the air.
In space.
Yes. I mean, technically not inside your cockpit. It's all about the resonance of the psycho frames, Paul, and the new type energy. It's very complicated.
Of course.
B1. But the main idea behind it was that I hadn't gone all out in a model kit before. And so I was it was just an experiment to see how far can I go, which of these upgrades are worth it, and how much fun is it going to be. It turned out it was quite a bit of fun, but I don't actually enjoy a lot of the photo etch parts.
What is photo etch?
Photo etch is when you use the photographic etching process the same way you do with a circuit board. Just to say, you'll lay down a mask onto a piece of metal, and then you'll use electrolysis to eat out the parts of that metal that aren't masked.
So it's to get a very high resolution.
Exactly. So you can make some very, very detailed sort of grates and fins and whatnot.
But you just found those were too fiddly?
Some of them looked good. Some of the little end valves and the little nozzles and beam emitters, those looked kind of cool. But then you'd get to these bigger pieces that were actually kind of about half an inch in diameter, and I tried test fitting one of them with just a little bit of blue tack, and I immediately had Cameron in my head saying, "Why'd you glue those metal pieces to your robot, dude? Looks ridiculous." I'm like, yeah, you know what? That does look ridiculous. Thanks, head cam.
Now, are those, what was the photo etch and the metal kit? Were those official things, or those were a third party?
No, those were definitely third party.
Oh, interesting. So people have made all sorts of different mods for.
Yep.
And then of course, because of all the 3D printing and different things, people can sell those. That's really neat.
In fact, the decal kit as well was a third party edition on that one, because it came with stickers, and I was not going to be putting stickers on my thing. But the interesting aftermarket stuff is always the people who do the resin conversion kits. Because resin is another one of those things that, oh God, Rexadecimal, yes, I am aware of for the barrel. I'm glad there's at least one other person out there who is. Where was I?
Resin.
Yes, resin. Yeah, people love doing resin kits because it's, again, another one of those mediums that can result in very high levels of detail that you don't normally get from styrene. Unfortunately, the processing of resin is rather difficult, so generally, buying resin kits is very expensive and a very fiddly process.
And it's very All I know, my experience with resin is in the context of like terrain and things for like D&D and Warhammer stuff, and it definitely tends to be expensive. Also, quite a bit denser.
Yes, so very
than
heavy.
It can be, resin, like especially if it's like a solid resin piece, it can be quite surprisingly heavy. But yeah, it does hold the. It's good, easy to or nice to paint as well.
Nice to paint and okay to finish, but
it can be extremely expensive.
yeah, expensive to buy, expensive to ship, expensive to produce. But I've seen some amazing conversion kits for some gunpla out of resin. That
It also, I don't think it works like, I maybe this is wrong, but like, sort of like body panels, like thin pieces don't work so well in resin.
Yeah. You're generally looking at something like, if you're going to replace something with resin, it's going to be an entire shoulder section rather than just the plates on both sides. And it can end up reducing the amount of posability of your model if that's something that you that matters to you. Not a lot of people go for the. They'll pose it once and leave it alone. But in fact, now that the 3D printing community has taken off and there are resin printers, you've now gone to the situation where people will now just do their modeling at home in their garage, as a garage kit in their garage, and then we'll just sell the files for you to print yourself out of resin.
Yeah. I saw this review on. This guy was reviewing some models, and so like this is one of these things where like this was a big. I think this was a Warhammer thing. So it was a Warhammer 40K thing, and it was like a Tyrannid. I don't know, some sort of big nasty Tyrannid, and so it was a big scary guy, and it was something to where the actual official Warhammer model was a little bit lackluster. Tyrannids in particular have gone a really long time without having their models updated.
That's what I'm hearing, yeah.
Although apparently they're planning on updating them this year.
That's what I'm hearing, yep.
But anyway, so this guy, this guy was talking about the quality of this model, but the STL file for this model was $50. Right. To buy the equivalent model from Citadel or whatever from Games Workshop was like 110 or something.
Yeah.
So it's like not that much cheap. Like it's a lot cheaper than buying the model, but it's still you're paying $50 for a digital file. And then you have to actually print it yourself. And it's like, of course, it's only like $10 worth of resin or $5 or $6 worth of resin.
But
and
you
can print multiple copies of it, which is cool. But yeah, you have to have a printer that is of a sufficient quality to pull it off and sufficient size.
Yes.
The guy had quite a large resin printer, and the thing took like three.
Still took 3 runs.
3 build plates worth of doing just because it was so big.
That is a large friend. I've got in my directories a zip file containing some STLs to do some resin printing for a conversion kit for a gunpla. This is something that Bandai has never produced, and one wonders if they'll ever get around to it. But in G Gundam, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that one. That's the fighting tournament Gundam, where
I am not familiar at
all
all.
of the nations of Earth have left Earth, and wars have been abolished because every X number of years, I can't remember how many it is because it's not that great a series. I mean, it's fantastic, but every nation or every colony nation sends their representative to Earth to fight in the Gundam battle. And so all the Gundams are nationally themed. You've got like the American Gundam has like football pads on and a helmet.
What do you get if you win?
You get to rule space.
All right.
But
It's like if the winner of the Le Mans got to be
king of cars.
or king of, I don't know, Europe or something.
But the most fun one, there's the Tequila Gundam, which is a Gundam that is just made with a sombrero and a poncho, and it's everything is just on the border of being just a little bit racist. But the Nether Gundam,
But on the board, and it's sort of all filtered through the whatever, whatever the Japanese creators are, sort of their perceptions of the particular countries, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, it's God, people refer to it as a just international thing. It's almost like Epcot, but of Gundam.
I like that. That's a good a good analogy. It's like, what is the one thing this country is known for?
But one of the countries depicted is the Netherlands. And would you like to know how they introduced their mechs?
Does it have giant wooden shoes?
You know what? I don't remember the shoes perfectly, but we at some point cut to a view of the internal colony of New Holland, and just a beautiful Dutch countryside. There's rolling hills, there's some dams, there's some windmills in the background, and then the windmills split and stand up, and there's like inside them. And it's the big old propeller right on their chest, and that's the resin kit that I have the parts sitting aside for.
Are they actually wind powered?
No, absolutely not.
Don Quixote was right.
Yep,
He was trying to warn us.
he knew. Just too many years too early for the Gundam fight.
So do you have so the idea is that there's a kit that converts an official Gundam into this Gundam?
Exactly. So the person
They found whatever Gundam that was actually being sold that was the closest to this one.
well, they didn't just do that. They chose a Gundam model that was they're all fairly close. They're all based off the Grandpa RX-78-2, the original Gundam, but he chose a model kit that was readily available, fairly cheap, and gets reprints quite regularly, so that if you do want to decide this, you're not going to be hunting down a rare kit that you need to spend hundreds of dollars on just to also convert it into something else.
Do they sell conversion kits for all the different ones?
Not yet, no. And I don't think that they probably will. A lot of them are going to end up being done by Bandai themselves. Like one of the ones that I never thought I would see, but did just recently get a release, is the Gundam Rose, which was the French Gundam, which has a cape, a little Napoleon hat, and uses roses as its remote-controlled little beam weapons.
I was kind of hoping it would be have a black and white striped shirt. And be like a mime or something.
And with some sort of a beam baguette. Like I said, Paul, subtly almost racist.
But it's in that slightly endearing way.
Yeah.
Of that
We cannot fight the Gundams right now. We are having a smoke break. So here's the polycap. We're about to do the attachment. We got your ball there. You got your polycap there, and it just wiggles in, satisfying little thunk. Not even a snap. And that's it. And now it can move around.
I mean, it
stays roughly in position.
Yeah, I mean, it's a testament to the tolerances that it can just kind of pop in there, and then it's kind of locked in.
Yeah.
And not only can be moved around, but also sort of hold whatever its position it's being put into.
Exactly. So yeah, there we go. We have it. Boop. Ahead. Completed. Let's move on to step 11, where I need to... Ooh, finally I need to make 2 of one thing. We need more polycaps. This time, D. We're gonna build them both at the same time. Boop and boop. But yeah, the I don't want to say fan. I guess community is maybe the better way of putting it. Community-produced add-ons and conversions available within the model making community is fascinating.
I mean, the neat thing is that the sprues or tracks or whatever are designed. They're obviously to make them work better for the injection molding system, so that everything has something to attach to and doesn't all fall apart. But it also is a pretty good way of laying out something on a 3D printing bed.
A little bit, yeah. I've never seen anyone do a 3D printed sprue-based item before, though.
No, they usually just have all things separate anyway.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is that's, I guess, different than what you... So it is a layout. It is an layout, but it's a lot more about... the sprues are kind of an artifact of what's being made here. Because the idea is that you need to get the plastic to the actual mold portion itself.
Right.
It makes sense. It makes the most sense to design it in such a way that, yeah, you're getting just design the smallest channels possible to get these things around.
Right. Whereas I guess fundamentally 3D printing, you're going about it from a different angle, so it's not necessary to make more sprues.
And that's the other thing too, is that while these are technically support material in their own way, there is support material that's designed or that's created from the actual act of pressing it. I mean, you're essentially making something in 3D space out of nothing that just clatters out to the end. Whereas either form of 3D printing that we currently have, you're either putting things down on a bed down below, or pulling things out of a resin pool off of a screen. And so you need support material to either hold that thing up or prop it up until it can be have the actual material deposited onto it. And if you look at a sprue side on like that, you don't really see any form of support other than the attachment points to the network of plastic.
Right. I find the whole like 3D printing or resin print or 3D printing additional pieces to model kits or their people's own models like fascinating, because or one thing, it's like it's like models exist in a world, that like the world of models is one where everything is small and everything is made out of plastic. And obviously 3D printers work really well in that world, but you can sort of imagine that like in the future, if when 3D printers get bigger and can print things that aren't plastic, like in some ways you can, like, rather than printing a cool little conversion kit to make the thing into a windmill, you could print a windmill.
Yep.
Like it's in some ways it's like kind of envisioning what 3D printing could do in the future.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
If the world, like, if you could 3D print all the materials that actually make up the world, in the very narrow world of models where everything is plastic, 3D printing is already, can basically build anything you could think of.
Well, it kind of removes the one advantage that the model makers had, which was injection molding.
Right.
That's something you can't really do at home unless you're creating the hobby of just injection molding, because you will never get to the point where you're making multicolored sprues.
Right.
But you've seen the people, or those 3D printed houses, right?
Oh yeah, with like sort of big. They sort of have big like concrete 3D printing
On
things.
cable things, yeah.
Yeah. We're getting into interesting stuff there.
I think that's something I'd like to actually experience in life, as not living in, but maybe trying out one of those homes.
Yeah, I mean, or there's also, there over on Salt Spring. I know there's a couple places made of like rammed earth,
Yeah.
just sort of another kind of building material that is kind of being just sort of laid out however the heck you want it,
Love me some rammed earth.
and just smush it real hard.
So it wants me to do 2 C's from PC. Ah, good, we do have 2 PC sprues. Whew. A little bit worried there for a second. Nothing to worry about, folks. Now what we just need is somebody to make an airbrush setup that doesn't require any sort of ventilation. So people can just get into that part of the hobby a little bit easier.
I did see a thing about those little USB air. It's like an airbrush with like a little. It's with like a mini air compressor actually sort of in it,
Yeah.
attached to it, and so you don't need like a whole extra other thing, and it's just like a rechargeable USB powered air compressor
Yep.
integrated directly into a thing. So it's almost just like a pencil or something.
Oh, that's small. That's pretty nifty. Because I've got the one's the little bottom end that's sort of a bottle. I actually used that during Desert Bus this past year to paint a model kit in the hallway. Or no, I didn't paint it, but I did coat it with the matte coating. Because it does add a little bit of je ne sais quoi to a model, if you're not willing to give it the whole paint job. Finally, we are moving on to A in our runners. And we're looking for A10, of which we will need A10 and 11. Okay. Good. And then these go in, is there a particular direction? There is not. Great. You just go into the little hole. So clearly we're setting up some pretty significant joints here.
We've got like 90-degree connection joints.
I'm just laying out my parts here so I know which way I'm going. F3 and F4. I saw those earlier. Where am I F set?
F's in chat for the F.
Ah, there we are. 3 and 4. Oh God, we need both of them. Oh, these are some nice little joints going on here. I like the indent on them. But you can also see this is, I was speaking earlier about quality of plastics, and that kind of line that you're seeing right there is definitely an issue with the plastic.
It's like almost like a little swirl.
Yeah, just, something was different in the in the mix or in the mold itself, and it's something that you see a little bit less of with the Bandai models, but it's also something that's easily fixable with paint, which I have already stated that I will not. Stated that I might not be doing. Not making promises yet. Okay.
I do appreciate that, that they do have the color, like, so it's not just like all gray. Like this, obviously, the single colors is not ideal, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
Gives you an idea of what it looks like as opposed to just being all unpainted gray model.
I mean, most of the time, that sort of internal skeleton gets colored gray anyway, or just a single color. But nope. Yes. Good. Tight. Ooh, I don't like this. Yeah, I am doing it in the right direction. Okay. Maybe this needs to be... just needs to be farther down. No, it's just really tight, is all it is. Ow. And we're probably going to need to push that in real good, like...
Is this like a knee joint or something, or what is this?
I'm not sure. This is a complicated joint, is what it is. So we've got probably hip. So you've got joint direction that way, double bend in this. This might be for some sort of a transformation gimmick.
Ooh.
Regardless, still need to do the other side with the other Fs, which are over here. Yeah, that's all I need. It's just the Fs. And then we get to turn the page. So, I think I'm starting to get an idea of how long it's going to take to build this, because we are now getting to the top of the hour again, and we are just finishing the end of page 2 of what we've been able to do here so far. So that's...
This might be a more than one session
I
build.
think that's going to be... Yeah, I think we might end up being here more than once. Hope you're okay with that, folks.
I guess it won't necessarily, do all the building on camera either.
No, not necessarily, and probably not going to be doing it regular basis serially like we did with the Nightingale. As I said before, we're going to keep hobby stuff to once a month on the show.
Can have a race with the Gloomhaven folks.
I have considered letting them take some time, but it just doesn't not want to get in there. There we go. I'm always afraid of tight builds like this because it can mean, unfortunately, sometimes you end up snapping a piece if you go in the wrong direction or whatnot. I'm probably going to hit these with a soft mallet later just to get everything in there. Come on. There we go. So you can see a little, maybe you can see a little gap there. Want to fill that, but
Hopefully this isn't where you find out it's supposed to go the other way around or something.
no, I was very, very meticulous in checking my directions. Okay, no. There we go. Let's put them back together the way they're expected to be. And go to 14, which I need B26. Are we still building 2 of these? I don't know. Oh, I think this might actually be part of the tiny arm system.
Oh. Does he have little T-Rex arms?
I think he does. Yep. That's what the box says, at least. Okay, B26. Flip around the hands. On the right side here. There we go. And good snips all. So now we're looking at that goes down like that. H17 comes to play. Just this little friend here. That feeling when you're not even sure if you cut the plastic or not because it just slides right through. All right. This goes... Oh, this is going to be an interesting piece here. So I think we're looking at a piece that has the opportunity to slide in and out, which is always exciting.
Oh.
That means we're looking at some sort of extensive and interesting transformation or posability.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's transformation is one of those gimmicks that can be done in a number of ways, and depending on how it's done, can be impressive for a number of reasons. I'll give examples of the model kits I'm about to build. One of them is the YF-21, which is the forward wing swept fighter from Macross Plus. It's got a HG version of its model kit, but its transformation system, rather than making the whole robot or the whole model transformable in one piece, they have certain sections that can be just pulled off and replaced. So when you go into Gerwalk mode, you keep the legs, you move those into position, you keep some other bits, but you replace the top section of the plane, the entire top section of the plane with the arms. Just kind of pulls off and goes on for a different version.
As a kid who was pretty into Transformers, the idea of actually like a model kit that you build and it is it does have a transforming part to it is actually pretty neat.
Yeah.
Like, already the idea of a model kit that you build and it can move around still is neat, but then having that extra level of actually transforming and that you sort of are putting all the transforming pieces together.
Well, it's funny that you mention that, Paul, because you're not the only person who thought the idea of a quickly transforming robot is kind of neat. Turns out, our good friend Yoshiyuki Tomino, director of original Gundam, when he was planning his sequel series in 1985 for Gundam Zeta, saw a little show that was being animated by a Tokyo Movie Shimsha in Japan, and said, "Hey, I want fast transforming robots in my cartoon too. These are really cool." And so, I found that interesting that that a American animated cartoon being animated in Japan is responsible for having transformable robots in Gundam as well.
I mean, I'm sure it happens with it has happened with other cultures, but it seems in particular, I love this cross-pollination, the way things, something comes from Japan, comes to America, gets changed, and then goes back to Japan.
Yep.
As a new thing, and then sort of like this sort of back and forth where we are each so fascinated in each other's culture,
Right?
and we sort of end up taking things from each other and messing around with them and sort of adapting them to our local thing, and then that gets interesting to the other people, and it goes back and forth, and you get a totally fascinating sort of amalgamation of different stuff.
Yeah, it's how we got Star Wars, right? This was George Lucas was obsessed with Japanese films.
Right. But then, like, there's all sorts of anime that are certainly
Yep.
references to Star Wars.
Yep. Well, and just movies in general. The whole spaghetti western
Right.
concept itself was derivative of samurai films.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Magnificent Seven.
Yeah. This is a fiddly little bit that I am not having fun with right now. But anyway, that's all to say that they're releasing a new version of the Master Grade of that titular Gundam Zeta that I was.
With the swept wings.
No. They've already got that one. That's the YF-21 from Macross.
Oh.
Yeah. The Zeta was the first transformable Gundam.
Oh, I see.
Yes, and it's getting its. Is it 40th anniversary now? It's a. I think it is a 40th anniversary. 40th anniversary of the show. Big anniversary of the grade of model that it's at as well. And so it's had a complete redesign in the model to make it screen accurate in the way that it transforms.
Wow. And the actual, I guess that is a testament to the anime that it's actually, like, they actually worked it out in the anime and animated it properly so that it could transform.
I mean, most times, because wadded quick transformations, it's literally kind of just a quick spin and kind of compress smear. But they do, they do go through the whole transformation a couple times just to show you how it happens.
I mean, I remember, even in the world of actual, Transformers, the range and quality of the transformations varied greatly. Like, I remember I had a little car, and its transformation was literally the face was on the bottom of the car. So you just tipped it up on its back wheel.
It didn't even have any legs separated.
And it was like, yep, that's it. Look at that. He's transformed now.
Yep.
Just always a little bit disappointing, yeah. I also, for some reason, I had a bunch of things that I don't think they were actually Transformers. There was probably some knockoff thing, but one that it was like a robot, and then it transformed into just a black sphere.
Okay, that's an interesting choice.
It was. I always thought it was, it's, you could, the whole robots in disguise thing. Somebody's like, oh my God, there's a robot over there. And then, oh wait, no, it's just a 30-foot tall, featureless black sphere.
A large black ball.
It's okay.
Don't worry.
It might have been GoBots, or I don't know what it was.
I mean, I laugh at GoBots, but that's an example of it going in the other direction. Where there was already these toys being produced in Japan, and someone brought some back North America and said, hey, we can make a TV show to this and sell these things.
Yeah. There's some great, I think it's called Toy Galaxy. It's a great YouTube series.
Okay.
Going into detail about toy stuff. It's like that Netflix show, The Toys That Made Us.
I was just about to bring that up.
But without a narrator who I cannot stand to listen to. And, like, I'm kind of interested in your topic, but I just can't handle his voice.
Just don't want to listen to you say the words.
But yeah, Toy Galaxy is a great YouTube channel. If you check it out, they've got all sorts of retro stuff about how various toys came together and all these things. My favorite being like Masters of the Universe, like the He-Man and everybody, they had like, because of course they were all the guys were the same sculpt, right?
Yep.
It's just one body, one kind of one big burly body. To the point where they even had like Prince Adam had the like bracers on his wrists, but they were just flesh.
Yep. I remember that. Yes.
Because they didn't want to bother with a different way.
Well, because those injection molds are crazy expensive.
But my favorite bit is that they needed an extra thing for it, and so they had a from a totally different jungle set. They had a tiger, and they were like, "Hey, let's put," and they were like, "Let's put this in," and then the people working on the set, they're like, "That doesn't work. It's at a different scale. Like it's like Master of the Universe is a whatever one." Whatever the scale is, and it's like these are like this is for the set this for is like 16-inch figures. It doesn't work, and they're like, here's what we do: we paint him green and orange, and we say it's a special magical cat.
Rattle cat.
It's not a tiger, and it's great. It's perfect.
And it worked out great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also why Skeletor is a skeleton with a huge buff burly body.
I understand that the a lot of the Star Wars figures the same way. A bunch of recasts and all mixed together in different combinations. Should we take ourselves a second break here at this point?
Sure, let's do that.
Well, then let's all get up, stretch our legs, swap our fluids, and come back for more Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry in just a few minutes. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. We are building an Zoid, which is an plastic model. Specifically the Sturm Tyrann, which is going to become a full Tyrannosaurus, I guess, and not just this this little head. Grr. Got something in my throat. Can you have a look at it, Doctor? Oh yeah, that's a...
Well, there's your problem. You got a gun in your face.
That's the wrong caliber for that kind of a mouth. You sure you're flossing enough? Yeah, so we're going to keep on rolling here until we finish for the evening, and then we'll be back probably again for more building in the future. But while we're working, let's move on to step 15 of... How many steps do we have in here? Want to take a guess, Paul?
I'm gonna say over like 3 digits.
Okay, that's a very...
I'm gonna say 150.
It's a very good guess because I just passed by the numbers, and survey says 103. So
Okay.
I mean, there are various sub-steps too, so I guess...
It's true.
But yeah, wow. 3 digits. And we are now on step 15 of 103.
I mean, I guess you can now, it's easy, you're 15% complete.
Hey, that's a good point. Yeah, it's very easy to make some extrapolations on these.
So now we're currently working on the hypothesis that this is part of the arm assembly for this guy, right?
I thought so as well. We are now, though, according to the instruction manual, in the bust section, which I guess technically, given what they've got available, we've got head, backpack, tail, foreleg, hind leg, and bust. Oh,
So this is like the torso section.
yeah. So I guess foreleg would be the leg or the arms in an upright animal. So
Right.
we're not going to get it. Oh. Hold on, I'm going to use the power of technology and find out what something says. Camera. Aha. Align the groove of PCA with the protrusion of A10. A16. Okay, I think I get it now. So what it wants me to do is align the groove with the protrusion in the polycap.
That like real time video image recognition, translation, and sort of augmented reality overlay.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of those. That's one of those like
Actual future tech.
this is a future. Yeah, this is the future. Especially sometimes when it actually starts like trying to match the font of the thing that you're.
And it did that with the round numbers. It was really good.
And it's like this is legit. There's a lot of stupid things that we do on our phones. A lot of things where you're like, is this actually better than what we used to do, or is it just cooler because it's on a phone? But that's one of the things where it's just like, okay, this is legit.
It's well known that I am definitely no promoter of the dangerous sides of AI, but I did see a demo today that kind of got me in the sense that it was basically just your normal translation, real-time translation demo. Of a person speaking words and having it translated into French for the other person to hear and spoken on the other end. What made this one special, though, was that the guy had used machine learning to make a version of his voice.
Yeah.
So that he was speaking French in his own voice then.
Yeah, it used to be that, that was a whole, I remember, I was reading an article about, Roger Ebert. He had, cancer in his mouth and in his esophagus and stuff, and so he had to have that all removed, and so he lost his ability to speak, and he had a digital a text to speech thing made of his voice, but the only reason why he was able to is because they had
Yep.
hours and hours of him doing like director like commentary tracks on DVDs and stuff. Like they had all this really nice pristine audio of him
with wide varieties of inflection and phonemes.
But now it's the training the amount of text you need, or the amount of things you need for training is
very little.
Very little. Yeah. Which is, it's one of those things that it's like, oh, that's super awesome. Obviously, there's all sorts of nefarious things one could do with that, but there's also good things.
For the good uses, it's fantastic. And thankfully, that's training your own voice to say things. Oddly enough, also one of those things that's not going to put people out of work, unless you're trying to put yourself out of work. In which case, I might actually.
I mean, it's already. There's some really neat stuff with like podcasts, where not that you can just like type out what you want to say on the podcast, but if you want to just like change a couple of words. It can insert that and using the rest of the audio from the track. Extrapolate what your voice sounds like.
Jeez.
And that one or two words like will probably sound fine. Like if you extended it, it probably would be weird and kind of wouldn't have the inflection that you would have.
But if you're getting someone who's just stumbled over a single word.
Yeah.
Like saying schninken when they were supposed to say chicken.
Exactly.
So we used to leave those things in for humor purposes, but now with AI. Thank God. I clipped out the wrong part too early.
Oh no. Yeah. For some reason, I have this urge to like I don't know. It's like, well, first what you do is clip out all the parts.
Then you find the parts that look like the one you're trying to find.
And it's like, no, clipping out all the parts from the sprues is probably not what you want to do.
Not unless you've got a way of getting the numbers along with it. Although, again, talking about interesting technology, we're probably not far from seeing someone specifically like Bandai releasing an AR phone app that will be able to say, like, hey, I see your pile of sprues. That's the one that you're looking for. You're going to take that part, and they'll literally float the part off the sprue and show you how it goes onto the piece that you're currently working on.
I mean, hell, if you're making the sprues, you could actually put.
That's a very good point.
You could actually put little reflective tags
right
on
in that area. You could actually print a QR code right in there,
or one of those like targeting dots.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then they've got these little flags at the top here. There's so many areas where you could add that targeting. Dang.
Yeah. Now, that's one of those things where it's suddenly gone in my mind from wouldn't that be cool to maybe people already do this?
Why doesn't this exist yet?
I'm almost sure there's a version of that for Lego, isn't there?
There has to be, right?
Where you can just where it does like AR, it does like things of people's Lego set. I swear I heard about that somewhere.
I feel like I've.
Maybe it was a dream. I don't know.
I mean, things have been moving pretty quickly these past couple of years. There's H. H23. Whew, lucky. A piece we don't have to put together out of two other parts.
I mean, there is the sort of course, you get into the kind of interesting aspect of that the physicality of the building is sort of the most important part. Of course, you can have, a digital model of Gundam that you could kind of spin around and look at all the parts and mess around with it and stuff. But, the process of the building and the physicality of the final product is sort of the point of the operation.
Yeah. Ideally.
And so you as it gets more kind of as more physical things sort of or as more sort of its digital aspects get added to it, there's a certain point in which it actually is sort of a diminishing.
Yeah, I can see it really only being useful for the building phase itself. And even, I mean, the other aspect I could see it being really useful for is painting. Is trying out different paint schemes and being able to click
you
on
can
parts
just be
and say,
like,
yep, I want that one to look like this.
Yeah, like AR, just being like, oh, this is what it looks like totally painted.
And I know that there are apps out there for miniature painting that do that. And in fact, have the more expensive ones also have links to and libraries of the various paints available from Games Workshop and Vallejo and whatnot.
The real paints.
Yeah. So you can get a very good idea of what you're going to end up with.
I mean, assuming you can paint as well. Yeah.
But I considered using one of those for my Taos back when I was painting those. And then thought, no, I'm just going to go with the box version because I like it the best.
I mean, it's a... I remember, talking about different things for when we're presenting, especially when we're presenting Magic streams, right? And we've got the card recognizer and throw the cards up and stuff, and so then the mind automatically sort of starts extending that, right? And you go, well, wouldn't it be great if we could actually have little, either through AR or through NFC or some sort of tagging system, we could actually tag the cards as people are playing them, and so we could have, so that we could have nice high quality images of all the cards, and then it would make it easier to see because then we could overlay the high quality images of the cards, and then you're like, wait a minute, we've just recreated a more complicated version of just playing it in Magic Arena. We've just, it's like we've just right. The whole
Congratulations.
The whole point is the physical nature of it.
We've now undigitized a game.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. This one is where I'm having trouble figuring out what I'm supposed to do here.
12, 13.
Yeah, there's a little dotted line that goes through the middle of the part, and I don't know where they're supposed to connect. It feels like it's supposed to be there, but I think it's through this hole here. And that's what we're going to try now. I mean, that appears to be where they're supposed to be. They're not... Ah, now I see why these have to be so tight. Also, did I miss something in the middle there? I don't think I did.
How are they? Yeah, like how are they attaching to each other? Are they supposed to attach to each other through that?
That's my question. Or are they supposed to just... There's definitely a hole. There's nothing that goes in that hole from what I can see. I mean, I guess we'll find out.
This is, I mean, you could also imagine something with like you could have like a full 3D model of this that can be like exploded in different ways to see all the, if you could, rather than having to, if you could sort of see this particular step and like rotate around and actually see it in all the different angles and see what's actually going on as opposed to the...
Where do you want me to be?
The one isometric angle that it's shown as.
The other issue is that it appears to want me to put these into this hole, but these super tight. I still haven't pushed these together enough yet.
Oh, do they need to be unfolded in a certain way or something? Or?
I think they just need to be flush in order to get in there. I was just unfolding them to see if I can get better purchase. Oh, I see what happens here. Go to the top. So when we do eventually mate these together, they will mate in such a way that, there we go. They do kind of stick together inside on their own.
Oh, they're slightly offset from each other, so they line up. Oh.
But unless we can get them in there.
You have to make the parts kiss.
Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to hammer them, but I do need something to press with.
What kind of a thing?
Preferably wooden or plastic, such that I can't... actually, no, I know what I'm going to use here. Got these dice. That'll do.
Those are... Oh, okay. Right.
There we go. That's what we needed. Nice. Just something that's not my flesh, because while the spirit is strong, the flesh is spongy and weak and deforms when you add pressure. I need something that will... There we go. Seal those suckers up. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy and bruised. Hey, there we go.
Nice.
Yep. That looks much better. Well,
looks like a land speeder or something.
Yeah. And so this is where I'm starting to want to get into more kit bashing. Like when you see something that's partially made like this, and you say, "Oh, this looks like a land speeder." Okay, How do I make this into a land speeder then? I think we absolutely could. But yeah, this is definitely a piece that's
So this is supposed to be like part of the torso portion.
Yep. And I just noticed how the neck extends, but also turns.
Ooh.
Oh, this is a good little kit. Fun. And then, of course, oh yeah, the neck can double extend. Burp, burp. All right. Let's do a few more steps here. 17 is the name of the thing? Right, this whole piece is 17. Right. B18. Where did you go, bees? You are A. I think the other black one is B. Yeah, there it is. B. B18. This is another undergated piece.
It's how you always end up with the, go to the they show you the behind the scenes at like ILM studios or whatever, and all these incredible models and props that they're building, and they're all just made out of weird little bits of
Yep. Model kits.
either little bits of model kits or like bits of whatever yogurt containers and cereal bowls and random stuff.
There was a model competition that's happening either right now or soon, where there was one category that was just a recycled category.
Oh, nice.
You can use anything you like as long as from your home, as long as you didn't pay anything specifically for it.
I remember I was chatting with some guys who are model makers here in town, and they're saying their sideline is they're making some really neat models for like movies and things and stuff, and so they were sort of showing off different the sort of thing where it's like models look just like nothing, but then if you light it right and you're looking, they had a camera set up, and you look at it through the camera, and it's like, oh, it's a city.
Yep.
But their sideline was they're like every once in a while, all we got to do is we just take all our all the offcuts and all the extra stuff, and then we just glue them into big piles and sell them as Warhammer terrain.
Wow. I
Just
bet.
like glue them into big piles, like flock it, paint it.
Yep. I bet
they make more
makes
money
bank.
off. Yeah, they make a lot of money out, like more money off that than sometimes than a lot of the actual work that they do.
Oh, that's a shame. But yeah, getting into model making in the past couple of years, in addition to getting more into tokusatsu, has given me a very large appreciation for screen model makers, and specifically those system or situations, as you say, where you look through a camera and suddenly, oh, now I understand exactly.
Yeah, there's a certain a vision that you have to have, which I guess is something that you sort of cultivate over time, but sort of being able to see something and visualize what it will look like once sort of combined and painted and fixed.
And also a certain amount of trusting the process too.
Yeah.
You have to know that there's going to be a very long period of time, and it's going to because it's going to feel long, where things are going to look terrible, and you're going to want to quit and just keep going, push through and finish. But the last posting I saw on that topic recently was it was a shot of one of the rooms. So every now and then, tokusatsu, one of the things they'll do as a shot is you'll see the monster and the hero, either Ultraman or whomever, fighting in the city. But you're seeing it from inside of an apartment room of some sort, or an office building.
Oh, okay.
And I've always wondered, like,
So you're watching it like sort of side on.
yeah, exactly. Side on from inside a building, maybe maybe an apartment building, maybe a skyscraper, depending on elevation and
Right,
what
right.
you want to do. But I had no idea how they'd done that before, and
Obviously, you couldn't put it inside the model.
Right.
Yeah.
it's really just a box that's
It's just like-
a one-sided dollhouse.
It's just a picture frame
If
sort
you
of thing.
film through, but it also gives you the ability that, when the monster either falls to the ground or Ultraman gives a stomp or something big and shocking happens, they're able to shake the box as well. And I've seen some beautiful ones where they'll get they have just rooms filled with objects that then just boom up in the air and land. The best one, though, and it's the audacity of this shot makes me so angry. You're from inside a car, and you're looking. All you're seeing is the footsteps of this kaiju coming down the road.
So like the giant feet. Of
Yep,
the
and it's again same idea. You're just filming from inside a car model, except then the foot comes down directly in front, catches the front of the car, and sends the car flying, tumbling end over end. And again, this is all in camera.
right. This is all practical effect.
Yep. Flips 3 times, and you see the monster, and then the car lands on its ceiling, and you watch the monster walking away. And it just,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
That must have been the planning for how to do the angles and stuff for that must have been just incredible.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely would love to do just one short tokusatsu bit just to try some of these things out. That goes in cleanly.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you're into model stuff, just recently, Adam Savage of MythBusters, and more recently, the Tested, I think, is his YouTube channel.
Yes.
He's been doing a deep dive on Jim Henson Creature Shop stuff, and so there's been about 4 or 5 videos, about doing like the showing all the puppetry of like the doozers and the gorgs and all this different stuff, and it's just incredible to see the sort of behind the scenes stuff and see the way that the talent of the puppeteers that can sort of turn this
The talent and the artistry of both
and turn this sort of pile of wire and fabric into this like living creature.
and the technical aspects mixed with the, as you say, the artistry of the people actually doing the puppeteering is it's upsetting how good it is.
Yeah. I think I'm talking about this before, but there's a great bit where he's doing the thing with talking about the people who set up do the gorgs. Those are the guys in Fraggle Rock,
The big guys.
the big guys, and the puppeteer gets into the gorg outfit, and it takes a bit to get into. And they're showing all the different parts of it, and then they show all the sort of articulation that's in the head, which is sort of a separately radio-controlled piece. And then the puppeteer who's puppeteering the head starts. It seems like almost unconsciously, because I'm sure they just do it. Starts matching the person who's inside the suit, just like the puppeteer inside the suit she's talking to Adam about different stuff, and so the guy operating the electronics in the head starts matching what she's saying, and you can see Adam Savage stop looking into like the mouth
Yeah.
of the puppet and start looking into the eyes of the puppet,
That's
right?
so
and now
cool.
and start actually sort of seeing it as a creature unto itself.
Because it's, yeah, you can now interact with it as a living being.
Yeah. It's sort of this amalgamation of these, two different people working together to create this creature.
That's so cool.
But yeah, it's very, very neat stuff. And sort of the way the technology has changed. They have, because they have some like the original stuff too. So they talk about, how the way the technology has changed since, Jim Henson and the original setups, because of, and also the ways it hasn't, they've replaced things that were like, fishing line and wire with more sophisticated stuff. But in a lot of cases, the actual control systems are very similar to what they were originally.
Well, that's because they had to do that all on their own. It's none of it was. I don't want to say none of it was off the shelf, because everything was off the shelf, because it had to be, because they were building it themselves. But they had to figure that out.
But yeah, they had to design, and I think one of the really innovative things that Jim Henson, or his group anyway, came up with, or in terms of the puppeteering, was the idea that the control systems, when they were when you're puppeteering like the face through radio control or whatever, the actual rather than a radio control car remote control with little thumb controls, they would actually build as close as possible to, like, in fact they show some of the rigs that they built to control these things, and it literally looked like an inside out it looked like the part that you would put your hand in a puppet, like the mouth part.
Really?
Even with like the fabric covering it and stuff. So because they wanted to make sure that it was as close to, being right there as possible, so that the skills that the puppeteer has translates.
Were transferable rather than
and so that they could control it with the same amount of the same techniques and the same fluidity as you would have if you were really in there with your hand in the mouth or in the face.
That's fantastic. Oh. That's got me thinking now about a couple things that are just thinking about the idea of hooking that sort of a animatronic control up to some machine learning based systems. I would absolutely hate to put puppeteers out of work. But it's one of those things that I think is probably, it's going to be inevitable as the technologies get better.
Although, I mean, it is one of those things where, like, fundamentally, I mean, it's like playing the playing magic thing, right? Where it's like, if the objective is to get the most high quality, smooth representation of some sort of freaky monster, like, CG is already better in good CG. Obviously, there's a lot of neat stuff that you can do with practical stuff that doesn't necessarily translate over. Yeah, but
I think
if the objective is to do it to get it as sort of smooth as possible, then you just do it with CG. So there's sort of like, there's only so much automation they can do on the puppeteering thing before it's just like, why are we doing this?
Well, I think you'd see it more for things like theme parks. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
you know, being able to have like a Sice Noodles and the modal nodes who actually just wander around the park and you can talk to them. Or,
Yeah, or I mean, there's sort of I could see almost an equivalent of the, you know, in computer animation you have like tweening, right? So like you can say you know, you could be puppeteering a thing to walk, you know, and you're sort of walking across a scene or walking through a thing, and you're just walking, but the puppet is sort of walking in the way that creature walks.
lankily, and you can add little bits of entropy into it to give it a little bit more natural experience.
But I mean, on the other hand, that's the, you know, that's the skill of the actor and the puppeteer and stuff. So, you know,
and I think that's what we'll end up seeing, if anything, is probably much like voice acting, where you'll just end up getting regular celebrities who are now cast as a Muppet in a Muppet production.
that would be weird, especially since like celebrity cameos in Muppet productions is a thing that happens all the time.
Exactly.
Like that's one of the like things that they do sort of intentionally.
But to have the reverse take place is... Okay, I think we're going to finish up this one little piece here, and then maybe we'll call that a day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's make a theme park and have autonomous lifelike robots walking around.
Yes, I'm sure no fiction has been produced that warns us against this.
And if it has, I'm sure it worked out fine.
Absolutely fine for everyone involved. All right. So, this needs to go on first. Like that, okay. And then this goes on top like this. Whoa. And then this piece finally clicks in up top here. Dang! So yeah, again, we're seeing the difference between the high-grade kits and the mid-grade kits.
Now it's starting to look like either a cool like motorcycle, like one of those like Una wheel motorcycles,
Right, yes.
or possibly the Firefly from Firefly.
Could be, yeah, yep.
It's got that kind of look to it too.
And it's got these little shocks in here, but comparing this to the Nightingale, which has a similar chest piece of arm pieces that kind of fling out, on the Nightingale, I think the total, it was 5 pieces total. Maybe like a wing piece, some polycaps in there, and then 2 pieces that kind of just go schmunk together. This feels and looks a lot more involved, like it is more of a mechanical device or a big old mechanical machine.
Yeah, it's like in Lego where it's like, you know, to build the pirate ship you take 2 halves of the pirate ship and attach it together, or the version where you have to like build it out of a whole bunch of little pieces. Yeah.
But this is looking real good so far, and we I mean, we can put on a little head as a treat, right? I'm assuming that's the head side. Maybe not. You know what? Maybe we can't put the head on as a treat. Oh, wait, nope, not gonna fit. So I guess we'll just have to leave you with the head and the, well, I'm sure, yeah, here we go. Now it's attached.
Perfect. I'm sure that's
Not
exactly how it goes.
I mean, I'm sure at some point this has occurred in some sort of Zoid world, but... Folks, that's going to do it for Tinker Tailor Solder Fry for this week. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to check out youtube.com for a panoply of channels that we own and operate, such as Loading Ready Run, Loading Ready Live, LRRMTG, LRRVG, and LRRTT for the tabletop stuff. You can find out all the stuff that's going on the channel over at loadingreadyrun.com/live. We'll get you the schedule. Check out store.loadingreadyrun.com. And thank you once again to everyone who supports us monetarily over on patreon.com, twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, and of course over at store.loadingreadyrun.com, where you can give us money directly for things that you might like to own. We're calling it, again, the end of the day. So, yeah. I forgot how I end this show. I say to you that I will see you in a fortnight, never in fortnight. Ever forward, learning out of spite. Good night.